Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We didn't see many people paving their own ways like we decided to, so we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we learn from them, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Coast Podcast. My name's Emily Given, and I'm a virtual assistant agency owner in Linwood, Washington.
And my name's Whitney Popa. I own a communications consultancy in Edmonds, Washington. And today we are here with my longtime friend who I just met IRL last week. By the time this comes out, it'll be a few weeks ago. Jenni Adishian, who is a guide for manifestation, mental wellness, and meditation. I have been in her collective, Abundant Collective, since it started. And it was one of those things that was like, I'd been following Jenni on Instagram since our days managing Instagrams for Paige Denim for her and Nordstrom Rack for me. And I don't even remember how we connected there, but we've been connected for like almost 10 years there. And then I watched her progress into doing more like intuitive social media management and coaching others to do that. And then moving fully into manifestation, mental wellness. And at the time, I think I mentioned this to Jenni before, at the time I was really calling in community. And that's a term that we use in this group. We have a channel in Slack called Calling In. I wanted to find more people like me. This podcast is an output of that, but I was a young, in my business, baby entrepreneur. I didn't have much of a community and I really wanted that. And then when Jenni was like, here I am creating this thing called Abundant Collective, and this is what we're going to do and be and learn, I was like, fuck yeah. And I signed up like as soon as I could. So I'm now Abundant Collective. How old is it now, Jenni? Almost 3? 2?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. So welcome, Jenni. I'm so excited because as I was saying before we started recording, you are the perfect person for what we're doing on this podcast of like talking about the journey of entrepreneurship, of paving your own way and going from something that you felt like this is sexy and cool and looks really cool and I get a ton of external validation for it, but I feel terrible inside and I don't know how to fix that. And so I go from job to job and then I'm still the common denominator. Nothing is changing. So how do I get out of that and how do I make my life feel better internally while also like making a living? So we're so excited to have you. Thank you for being here. And we can't wait to dig into your journey, like starting at wherever you want to start.
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful to be here, and it's been so cool to be on this journey with you. And it really does feel full circle coming and sharing this story today. So thank you for creating the space for people to share, because these are the stories that I needed when I was in, my corporate job looking for guidance. And they're the stories that I listened to on my drive to my toxic startup job. So I hope that this resonates with someone today. Yeah, where do I begin on this journey? Pretty much straight out of college, I started working in corporate fashion. So I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in fashion. I wanted to be in advertising. I studied that in college. And I was really grateful to have a job like pretty much 2 weeks after I graduated, and I started working for Paige Denim, a well-known denim company, and started working my way up until being in the position when Instagram really started taking off and influencer marketing was just beginning, I really built that for this brand. And it was so amazing. It was new. It was exciting. I mean, there was so much potential. On the flip side, it started to become toxic for me in that everything that I did was so public. I mean, you know this, everything I created had so many opinions on it. And also just the pressure of the numbers, the creating, constantly growing in this field. And there were no days off. And I learned so much in that first job. I grew so much. I made so many amazing connections, but I always had this feeling that I wanted something more. And I finally ended up leaving that. And from there, I was there about 5 years. From there, I spent the next 4 years, I would say, hopping around different jobs, startups. I mean, in wellness, in beauty, in influencer marketing, all around the same industry. And I continued to burn out every single place that I went. It was just something is not right here. Mental health wise was just constantly in anxiety, feeling like I wasn't doing enough. And it also started to ripple out into my personal life. So the way that I showed up on social media and the way that I was presenting to people, it was this, like you said, on the outside, I was in a cool fashion job. I was going to all these influencer events, working with these influencers, and it looked so cool, right? What more could I want? I had a great social life, like partying in LA, all the things. But again, at the end of the day, I was living in anxiety, living in just, this is not authentic to me and what my soul really wants to do here. So yeah, common denominator was me. I was continuing to burn out everywhere that I went. And it wasn't until I was at this fashion startup that really things came to a head. I was waking up with hives every day. I had back pain. I was having, severe anxiety. And the culture was so toxic. People constantly, you get caught up in that drama that was everywhere that I went. And I just started to notice that not only in my career, but all other areas of my life were starting to crumble. And it's when I started to really explore doing my own thing. And I knew that there had to be something more for me. And so during that time, I started to explore. I was listening to podcasts, as I mentioned, every day on my way to work. I was listening to Almost 30, starting to learn about spirituality and manifestation and meditation and all these things, and listening to stories of entrepreneurs creating their own businesses. And so I was intrigued. I started looking into manifestation, and I started to dabble in it, if you will, like started to think of, what do I want? I'm going to make a list of what my dream job would be. And within a few months of starting to do that work, I manifested a new job. And it was at Dermalogica, which is a very well-known skincare brand. It was the exact salary that I wanted. It was exactly what I wanted to be doing, everything on my list. And I was like, this is it. This is going to be my job forever. I'm going to grow here, right? All the things. And people don't tell you this, but you can manifest something and then realize you don't want it. And that happens all the time. And so I get there and it's new and exciting again. 6 months in, I'm like, I am in the same situation again. I'm being micromanaged. People don't appreciate the work that I'm doing. I'm unfulfilled. This feels inauthentic, the work that I'm producing and putting out for this brand. And I was just one, a little bit mad at myself in the moment because I was like, I got myself into this again, and I'm not listening to that calling that I have within me that I want to do my own thing. Like every time I would look for jobs, I would always look in Austin, Texas. At the time I was living in LA. I was always looking, but I never took the leap of starting to really forge this path. And it took this last job where things kind of ended up blowing up again, drama amongst the marketing team, you name it, that I was like, I'm done. I'm done. And I was like, I can't put my mental health in this place anymore. I can't, continue to what felt like suffer, like my anxiety. I was having panic attacks in the bathroom at work. It was the worst it had ever been. And so from that point, I had a plan to leave by the end of the year, but it happened 6 months earlier and I decided to leave. And at the time, I didn't have a backup plan, but I knew based on the manifestation practice that I was doing and what I was learning, I was like, I know that this is right for me in my soul. I know this is the time and I know I will figure it out. So I ended up leaving and booked a one-way ticket to Bali for a month. My parents were like, what's going on? And for the first time in my life, I was off Instagram for more than a week. And I use that time to just reflect on what do I actually want to do? What feels good to me? And during my time away, I ended up booking 2 freelance clients. I started my own marketing freelance business where I was going to help clients be more intentional with their marketing. And I wanted to work with small businesses and I wanted it to be authentic messaging. And so that's where I really began. Again, 6 months later, we enter into the pandemic and I lose all my clients. And it feels like this journey, and I think you guys could probably relate to this. It's just like the reroute and the reroute and the reroute. And you're always being guided towards the more aligned path. And when you're in the moment, you believe that this is it. And you kind of need to believe that to keep going. But looking back, you realize, yeah, I needed all those stepping stones. I needed to go through those experiences where I wasn't feeling fulfilled to find what actually made me feel good. It's part of it, right? We have to go through that to actually have the contrast of knowing, wow, this feels authentic versus what I used to know. So, yeah, during the pandemic, everything was stripped away. And it was my opportunity. The universe gifted me an opportunity to really, truly build my own thing. I wasn't going to work for anyone else. I wasn't going to be a contractor. I was going to start my own business. I started creating my own course. It was all around authentic marketing with a little bit of manifestation in there. And I launched that like fall of 2020. And I sold it out. I wanted 12 people and it sold out and it was amazing. And from there, it's evolved so much. I ended up leaving marketing fully behind and just going full manifestation like 6 months later. I feel like every 6 months something evolves. And it's been a journey up until now where I am serving hundreds of women in this space, helping them navigate finding fulfilling careers or launching their businesses and doing it from a place that feels authentic to them, doing it from a place that is going to support their mental wellness. It's going to bring them joy, expansion. I talk about magical shit, which is like the little day-to-day things that happen in your life along your path. And it's been, it hasn't been easy, right? There's been so many ups and downs, but I have never once regretted it. And there's been so many things. I was thinking about this actually yesterday, so many things I could consider a failure, right? A launch that didn't go well, or a business that didn't end up working out. I had a vintage business all throughout my corporate career. And all of that was meant for me because it all encompasses what I do today. Every single piece of it. It all makes sense. And I know that that's just going to continue as I evolve. And yeah, I have not regretted a single moment. I never look back and think, oh, I should have stayed in that job longer, like not for a moment. And yeah, it's truly been a journey for me. It all started around my mental health, right? Finding that mental peace and that balance and letting go of the burnout and the hustle. And it's turned into so much more. It's rippled out to every area of my life. So that is my story. I mean, there's lots more to it, but I tried to keep it as succinct as possible.
No, and it's so resonant and like parallel to mine as well. Like there's so much of you that I see in mine. Like I always talk about how I would go to Vegas and get all these free drinks, like back when I was into going to Vegas, because people were like, "Oh, you have such a sexy job. That is so cool." And I would be dying inside. Every time I would get that validation, I would feel like I have to say, I have to agree with them, but I hate my life. Why do I hate my life when I have this sexy job? Like even at Nordstrom, when I got there, it was barely a few months that I was already like, okay, I don't know if I can survive this. And what is wrong with me that I've wanted this job? Like this exact job felt like it was created for me for years. I applied to be at Nordstrom for 5 years straight before I even got in the room. And then when I got the job, just like you said, the manifestation of it, it was easy. And then I got there and I was like, why do I hate my life so much? And I lasted there like 2 years. And again, amazing. So many learnings, so many cool experiences. But I was the one that wasn't meant to be there. And we're all meant for different things. That's why it's so cool that like somewhere along the way, like we connected and have been able to be on this like path together. And I do want to give a little bit more credit to the collective as well. So what you've created in the collective, and I'm probably not going to do like a great service to everything that it is because there's so much power in just the community coming together there. But it's pretty much like a monthly theme along these kind of spiritual wellness things that we're all working on. And then you have a collective call every month with everybody, and then supportive Slack all the time with prompts, and then also a guide for everybody that, what are you calling in this month? What's the magical shit that you're seeing? A tracker to keep yourself on track. You're always there to support everyone. And then there are guest experts who come in. There are live trainings. There's so much goodness. And I was just saying before we recorded too, like what I'm noticing in different parts of my life is like the community, the container that you create, then it has these little offshoots of I connected with this person who connected me with this person who's not even in the collective, and we're all changing each other's lives in all these super positive ways, and it feels so juicy and beautiful. And then another thing that you didn't mention was you moved to Austin, and now you are living like a nomad, just all over these beautiful Airbnbs, all over, just literally following your soul callings each time and looking for the magical shit and the synchronicities to take you to that next place. So you've created this amazing freedom for yourself and embodying it so that everybody else can see. That's probably not your intention fully, but like we're all looking at Jenni's living, she's walking the talk and living this way that she's preaching to everybody. And there's a lot of like chatter in the coaching world. But obviously I'm a huge fan, and I've been seeing that like the way that you've been creating everything has been so like true and authentic, and like sitting with yourself to be like, is this the right move for me to create this thing or do this thing that's kind of like become a popular industry. So anybody who's interested in the collective, I've been in it for 2 years. We'll put my link in the show notes so everybody can join and see Jenni's magic and experience it for themselves, because it's been just, even for an accountability, or like you're having a bad day, I just go into the gratitude channel on Slack and I'm like, look at all this amazing stuff, or what people are manifesting. It's just beautiful. And it's like just the tip of the iceberg of what you've been doing. So I appreciate it. And I'd love for you to tell our audience too about how you decided to just quit Austin after being there and start your nomadic journey.
Yeah, so that was definitely a piece of my career journey as well. It's where I was being called to go. And Austin was definitely a place that I just felt really drawn to for about 5 years. And once I quit my corporate job in LA, it opened up the space for me to finally move there. And, there's always this question of, we want like clarity of like, why am I being called to do this? Or why am I being called to go there? And there's like, what's the reason? And looking back, I realized I needed to leave everything that I knew behind to start to step into this new identity of being a business owner and an entrepreneur. And I had to move away from my family, all the friends that I knew, the city that I had been in and grew up in, to start fresh and be able to show up as who I wanted to be. And that allowed so much space for me to do that. I was able to make so many new connections and build a community there. I ended up meeting my partner who's from there. So much happened in Austin. And yeah, it's like a crucial part of my career journey. So much happened during that time of my first 2 years of business. And from there, I had the calling to completely leave. And, a lot of my path is me feeling called to do something, being terrified to do it. And then, sometimes it takes me 5 years to act, like Austin, for example, and sometimes it takes me 6 months. But I've always seen that I'm led to exactly where I need to be. And so I decided, I'm going to act on this nudge of just letting go of my lease and traveling for a few months. That's what I thought I was going to do. I saw myself doing this solo. And once I committed to that, I actually ended up meeting my now boyfriend who lives this way as well. And our businesses have become so intertwined. He's a photographer, he's an artist. We do beautiful brand shoots together. We live out of Airbnbs and we create for them. So there's this other like passive income piece of my business that's now come through. And I could have never predicted that, right? And I could have never predicted how any of this was going to work out. And you never will, but you have to just let the calling, your intuition, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, you have to let them lead at a certain point. And when you do, like, things happened. It's just things come through that you could never have planned for yourself. And I think that's been like the biggest learning in my journey is like the more that I surrender to what's calling me, the more I end up exactly where I desire to be and more. It's always better than I could have expected or planned. And yeah, so that's been, I've been doing this for over a year now. And a huge concern last year was, how am I going to do this with my community being all online? I do Zoom calls, live streams. How am I going to travel and have Wi-Fi and, consistency and be able to have the time to create new programs? And my business doubled in sales from the first year. That's insane to me. And none of the concerns that I had, it was a learning. I had to let go of perfectionism and I had to let go of thinking that people needed things to be a certain way. And I'm always transparent with my community and on, what's going on in my life. And yeah, that was a big piece in learning for me on this journey too, is letting things evolve, for the greatest good of, you, your life, but also your business and your soulmate clients, because chances are what you're being called to let go of or lean into is going to serve them in a bigger way. And that's what I've experienced through this journey of living this way, which has been incredible. And thank you so much for sharing on the collective. It's truly been, for anyone who's wanting to start a membership or a community, I had no idea what it was going to be going into it. I just had an intention that I wanted to bring women together and I wanted to talk about these things. Like selfishly, I wanted to talk about manifestation and build a community that I needed, years before. And the coolest piece of it all is the people made it what it was. The people brought the missing parts that I couldn't see for myself, right? All of you connecting, sharing, like it would be nothing without that. And so if you're feeling called to create something in your business, trusting that the clarity, the pieces will come with those people who are meant to be in it. And you might not be able to see it in this moment, but your intention is enough. And build it. I know they say build it and they will come, and it's so true. So, tangent, but that felt like it needed to be said.
So I really like to go back to like basics. So you're talking to Whitney and we're really into spirituality and manifestation and all these things, but a lot of our listeners are not yet. So could you give everyone a manifestation 101 rundown? Like, what is that? How do you do it? What does that look like for when you're just getting started and you have no idea where to start?
Yeah, so I define it as a spiritual, mental wellness mindset practice. And it's essentially a practice that allows you to bring a goal that you have, a dream, a vision for yourself, your business, pretty much any area of your life, bringing it from that vision, whether you write it down, whether you make a vision board, whether you just have a goal in your mind, and bringing it into reality, making it happen. And we do this not by knowing every step to get there. Manifestation invites you to let go of control, and instead we embody the person who has the dream, the vision, the goal already by stepping into that version of you, right? Whether that's the way that you dress, the way that you show up on social media, the way that you manage your money in your business, all the little things that you can pick out about that next level version of you. When you embody that daily, you create, without getting too woo-woo, you create this vibration. You step into this vibration that then attracts the opportunities, the ideas, the people into your life that are going to make that vision come true for you. And, when I look back at the ways that I reached my goals in the past, it was, how do I get here? I need to know every single step, and it needs to go exactly like this. And I need to have an exact plan, right? And it's rigid. It sets us up for these expectations. It limits us on what's possible. We're doing it solo, it feels like. And manifestation allows in this ease. It allows in flow. It allows in this belief that if I show up every day as this version of me, if I focus on the day ahead of me, I know that I'm going to get there. And I don't have to know every single little step in between. Because the more that we try to control and plan, the more that we limit what happens for us. So it's truly a mindset shift. I view it as a mindset shift. It's shifting from needing to know everything. And it's inviting in some of that magic of the unknown of, I know that it's going to happen and I know that I'm going to get there. And my job is to release control and focus on being the person that has it already. That is how you manifest it.
For a lot of people too, it's super counterintuitive. So I've watched, like with my husband, I've watched him become more this way through osmosis. And sometimes we have to try to meet in the middle, because I can be like, I keep giving this example of like, we met with a financial advisor and he was like, so when you retire at 65, like how much money do you want to have? And I'm like, I don't even live in that world. Like there's no way that I can think like at 65, I will do this, have this. Like I'm so open to it being good and better than anything. They're like, what if your income is like $100,000 a year? Like just as an example, when you retire at 65, I'm like, first of all, I don't see myself retiring if I love what I do. Like if I'm serving in a way that doesn't feel like work, I don't see myself retiring until 90. That's what I put on my worksheet. And then like, why wouldn't I have like $1 million a month? And they just can't work in that world. And so he's become, even on that call with the financial advisor, like reading through my portion of the worksheet, my husband was like very positive and deferential to like, this is how Whitney is operating in the world, and it might not look like what you're used to. And for him to be supportive of that when he's like, I'm retiring at 65, I see like this amount in my bank account. I think I'll get him there, but like even that, it's unrealistic, and that's a good thing. We've been trained, in my experience, to be like, what's realistic for you? Like go on Indeed, find the job. Whereas like creating a job isn't something that's been safe or following your soul. I think that's why we all felt so incongruent in these things that weren't built for us, because it was about the shoulds and about what's realistic. And I didn't do anything after college, like everybody going on a vacation, because I was like, I got to get the job. I got to start earning money. I got to like prove to myself and my parents that this was a worthwhile investment to send me to college. But I've always been that person of wanting to be more spiritual and really knowing that I had soul callings. So it's been kind of a side mission of mine too, to help people understand that following your soul is the move, but we've been trained to believe that it's not the way we're supposed to move through the world, that it's unrealistic, that it's unsafe, that it's not the path to get where you want to go, because traditionally we're taught like you grow in your career, you make incremental amounts of money, you take your vacations, and then you retire and you finally live. And now women can especially women, take back this control. I read a book that I just finished called We Should All Be Millionaires, and she was talking about she had a client who had a coach ask her once, what if you decided to be bad? Instead of being the good girl, ask yourself every morning, what would bad Whitney decide today? What decisions would you make, and how would that change the world? And even thinking of like bad as good in that way is kind of the spiritual world of listening to yourself more than listening to these external voices and outsourcing our decisions. So even though like people still kind of treat some of this stuff as woo, it's so not. It's like complete individualized metaphysics science. And I'm so excited to get more people on the train, because yeah, Emily and I are super into it too.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was starting to realize like exactly what you're saying, right? We go about things so logically or realistic, like you said. We see how to get a job. Okay, how can I get a job? By applying on Zillow every day and reaching out and, creating my resume, right? That's how I would get a job logically. That's how someone would tell you probably to get a job. And I had a client who was doing that, and she was looking every single day. and nothing was happening, and she was getting frustrated trying to control the situation. And I said, essentially, manifestation is like releasing it and trying something different. So I invited her, let's just try for a week. Instead of you looking on, I think I said Zillow, LinkedIn, instead of looking on LinkedIn, let's just take a break and invite in other possibilities. And she was like, okay, I don't know if I can do that. And I was like, we're going to experiment 1 week. Just give me 1 week. So, and I said, instead of looking, I want you to just embody in your day. If you had a new job, like, how would you feel? How would you wake up in the morning? What would you do? Listen to that. So she takes on this experiment. She has this nudge to go on a walk with one of her good friends. She's talking to her friend about how she's looking for a job, and her friend says, I know of a perfect opportunity for you. My friend is hiring for X, Y, and Z. It sounds like what you would like. Fast forward, it doesn't end up being the thing that she takes, but it opened her up to seeing, okay, this opportunity, any opportunity can come through in so many more ways than I'm allowing myself to see. And when I let go for a moment and when I release needing it to happen, right, in the way that I want it to happen, I can breathe and I can start to listen to my intuition and I can start to invite in other options. And that's exactly what happens when we start to do this practice in every single way. And I've seen it anytime someone joins the collective. I've seen it thousands of times in my own life. I think it's going to happen one way, and it usually doesn't. It comes through in a way that I could have never expected. So that is what this practice really invites you to expand your mind into and start to let go of the norm. If you are an entrepreneur, if you have your own business, you are not here to live a logical life. So why are you trying to make everything happen in this way that, society has taught you to? You're already forging your own path. Why not let that ripple out into the way that you reach your goals? That's really the invitation.
And for me too, like, I feel like I used to be made fun of for this, but I've always talked about magic, believed in magic. Like, I had friends in middle school. We lived in a very kind of hippie witchy place growing up. And I remember my friend like having a Ouija board and being like, oh, that's so crazy. And discovering like The Secret in high school and everything kind of going in that direction from there. And then losing myself in these moments of scarcity of like, when I got laid off from a startup and having to prove to myself, like to my ego, that I was hireable, and being that girl on LinkedIn and applying for everything, having these awful experiences with these hiring managers. And even now, like, you're a great resource for me in seeing I didn't even unlock for myself until last year that I could just create things. Like, I created my business, but I did it in a way of I still get fed the projects and the assignments. So before we started recording, I was talking about one of the first things that I'm going to try to put out in the world that's for me. And it's like this short little zine on grief. And I was telling my friends who I walk with this morning, I was like, and when it comes out, I'm going to celebrate the shit out of it, because it's such a big thing for me to, even as a person who believes in magic and gets out of my own way most of the time, I still slip into these moments of like, but there isn't somebody else telling me what to do and handing me the paycheck to do it. So to create something out of nothing and have that be your entire business, to me, is totally inspirational. And Emily's done that, where it's just like, oh, I'm going to have a virtual assistant agency. And I created that out of nothing, just out of my own mind. And now I run this whole beautiful business, and the next right person just shows up. I don't have to force it. I don't have to make it tied to my ego and my self-worth. And to see more women out there doing that and balling out, like making more money and talking about money and embodying these people that they want to be, whatever that looks like. it's just been super inspirational for me to be in that energy as well, because it's slowly nudged me in my like mini decades on this planet to get closer to like do it for you.
I think it's really funny that you said going back to Zillow, because Whitney, you know where I'm going with this. I have been manifesting Edmund's water view forever, like for as long as I've been talking to you, Whitney, like a long time. So, but I have like a Zillow alert set. I look on Zillow like every day. So I'm like, maybe if I just put it out there and release it, like, and I don't know if I'm being too specific. Like Whitney always says this or something better. But I'm like, 4 bedrooms under this price point, view of the water on a street with a name. I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Ooh, I love this. Can we talk this through? Maybe I intuitively said Zillow. I don't know. So if I were manifesting that home right now, I would definitely have my alerts, set the alerts, but there's no need to check. Create your list, which it sounds like you already have, of your non-negotiables, what you want. You can get as specific as you want, right? And I think people get tripped up of like, am I asking too much or is this too detailed? And if it's something that you truly desire, write it down. If you're clear on it, write it down. Then the embodiment piece of living in this place. So I would let go of needing it to come through at a certain time or, through Zillow. And I would start to focus on if this had happened already, if I knew I had this home and, I was going to move in a month from now, what would I do over the next few weeks? And things that you could do would maybe be to start to create a Pinterest board of what the space would look like. Maybe you would walk around that neighborhood one day and start to get to know like the local market or place that you would be shopping. Maybe you would actually start looking for a realtor and finding the right person. I think money holds people back a lot too, especially, with any sort of bigger thing that we're calling in. And I always suggest do everything up until you actually need to hand over the money, put your credit card info in. Like this is how we bring it in. We act as if it's already happening and we start to embody the person that already has it. And we leave figuring out how it's going to come through. We leave that open and we instead focus on the day right in front of us. Okay, what can I do to embody this today?
Yeah, I try to hang out there as much as I can just because to me that's embodying it too.
Yeah, another thing is talking about it. So with safe community. So whether that's your friends, anyone who's going to support it, the more people you tell, you never know who's going to find that opportunity for you. And then a big piece of manifestation is the release. So what are you holding on to that's in the way of this coming through? And for example, when I wanted to live nomadically and I wanted to call in that lifestyle, I was like, I'm going to end my lease. And that's not, that's a big leap that not everyone can do. But in my mind, I was like, I want to set this in motion and I want to show the universe that I'm ready and that I truly believe that I'm going to live this way and it's going to come through for me. So maybe it's starting to look around your space. What wouldn't you take with you into this new home, this new energy, and start to maybe donate a box, like little things like that. I know it sounds silly, but it truly steps you into bringing in that manifestation. And when you're in the energy of being that person, right? You're in the city or you're pinning on your Pinterest board. That's when you get the little intuition and the ideas of, ooh, I should reach out to this person, or maybe I should check on this other website, or I'm going to go to the coffee shop today down the street. Oh, bump into someone. Like you just never know. And that's when it happens. So that's my tips for you. It's coming. I can feel
Good.
it.
I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I just don't. The hardest part for me is not having a timeline, because I'm a person that I'm very rigid. I need structure. I need, like, I have an idea, but if I don't have every single step in place, I'm just like, well, I don't want to do it. Like I need to let go of the rigidity and like just let things happen. Just set the attention, and then like I have a course in my head and I'm like, well, I need to do this before, so I'm just not even going to do it. And it's just like, it's sitting there for no reason other than I'm too rigid.
Did I tell you about my Edmonds story? You know about how, like, when we moved to Edmonds, we lived about 20 miles south of, or 20 minutes south of where we live now. And I had on my vision board. So there's, between where we were living in North Seattle and in Edmonds, there is another community that's closer to the freeway, but they don't have like a cute downtown. And so I had that town, I wrote it on my vision board because I didn't have a picture in a magazine of it. And I wanted to have a bigger house with a garage and, big dreams over here. And, but our son was a really good sleeper in the car. So he was like a year and a half, and we would go on drives, and we came down to a street near our current house all the time. So in that time, I was manifesting this other town, and then we kept driving over here because it was just like one area past it. And one day I was here at a shop downtown, and my husband had favorited all these houses with sport courts. It's going to make us sound as bougie as we are. So he was like, he's manifesting in his ways too. He's like, I want a sport court, so I'm going to favorite this on Redfin. And I just had a nudge because it was this like really beautifully magical moment of like the person at the shop being like, oh, and it's the end of the farmer's market, you should go and check it out. And there was like one loaf of bread at the sweet like bread vendor who took my $2, which was all I had for the loaf, and it was sunny but like lightly drizzling, and it felt very magical. Our son was napping, I was on my own. I was like, why don't I just go check out this house? We weren't looking, we weren't pre-approved, there was nothing that made sense in doing that. And I showed up, there was nobody there. When we bought our house last time, it was like a fight to even get our offers in and ultimately accepted. So I was ready to fight. And I was just like, I walked in this house, I felt the magic, and asking the realtor, what do you need? And she was like, it's chill. Like, we ended up getting this house under ask. We figured out a way to buy it. We were not looking. That, like, going back to this or something better, that town that we had wanted, it wouldn't have worked out for us, just because I'm a person who wants like a little downtown core, the cute coffee shops, and we had been kind of unconsciously or subconsciously manifesting this town instead, with his little likes on Redfin, the drives to the street, and this certain house that I was like, I would love to be in that house, but I think I need to settle for this other area because we can't afford this one yet, or whatever I was thinking. And now we walk to that house all the time, and it's like, I don't know, 5-minute walk from our house. We drive past it all the time. I was coming here and doing the embodiment without knowing it, kind of like the Jim Carrey famous, like, write yourself the $10 million check, sit in your shitty car in the nice neighborhood until you get it. And we had no timeline really. But then after we moved in, or like while we were in the process of buying this house, and also at that time too, like, Ross had made friends with a realtor at the basketball court down the street. Like, all these little things came together to bring us here. And then turns out I was pregnant too. So it was the perfect timing because we wouldn't have been comfortable in our house anymore. And I'm a super forceful person too, but that's why I love vision boards and things like that, because it kind of it forces me to release it a little bit. Because I just had it on the inside door of my closet where I had like written it in, and a house in Richmond Beach. And then turns out Richmond Beach isn't what's wasn't what's meant for me. So I'm excited for you to do the little tricks that Jenni mentioned to see like if any of those things kind of move your path forward, and then if there's something that's or something better for you that might not be like a waterfront house here.
Right. I don't know.
That's cool.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see how it pans out. I love the embodiment part of it too. Like that's been a big part of the conversation lately that I haven't been as good at historically or even like considered. And I would love for you, Jenni, to go into a little bit about that too, as far as like a lot of people, especially in like a lot of the money work that I'm doing now, if you want to be a big ballin' millionaire, they're like, how do I get there? Like, I can't be buying the Fendi bodycons right now, right? But you can go in the Fendi store, you can create space in your day to act like that person who does have this incredible designer wardrobe and 2 hours to spend at a coffee date without looking at her calendar, worrying like, is a client calling me or whatever? It's more of, it doesn't have to cost money to get to that next level. It's all about thinking, like, that's why I love the tip about the box. And a lot of people get bogged down in the embodiment of like, if my next level makes X amount of money or lives this kind of bougie lifestyle, that I have to spend money I don't have to get there. And that's not true.
Yeah, so this is a piece that I've been really diving into personally, but also through community. And I always say it's not about the how, it's about the who that has it. And again, zoning in and creating that character, right, of the person who maybe it's in your business and you're ready to call in 10K months, 20K months in your business, whatever it is. And looking at the person that you are right now in your business and the way that you manage your business, you manage your money, who's supporting you, your boundaries, all of those things. And then looking at the person, connecting with the person who maybe has 10K, 20K months and saying, what's changed here? They have better boundaries. Maybe they've outsourced some things. Maybe they show up more confidently. Maybe they launched that course without needing it to have all the bells and whistles because they know it's enough. Like those are the little things that I call aligned actions, your next steps to start to create what you're calling in. And when you focus on that versus how the heck am I going to get there, it just starts to build momentum because you're following through, you're showing up differently, right? You're creating the boundaries, whatever it is. And that's what brings in the money that you are looking for or the opportunities that you're looking for in your business. And it's the who. And that's all you need to know, truly.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I had an unlock like this past weekend where I was like, why am I not writing luxury big website projects for like luxury hotel or something? Maybe that's like one of my next clients. Like I'd love the space to create for them and have like this super beautiful, awesome unicorn client that's going to pay like 3 times the amount that I've been getting for other things so that I can really hone in on doing VIP work for people who really need it and are beautiful and have big budgets. I want to bring one of those into my queue. So something that I did was there was this really incredible hotel that I stayed at actually when I was working for Nordstrom that had the, I'm going to butcher the name, the Malin and Goats products, and they have this signature scent that's dark rum. So all of the products like in our hotel room smelled like that, and it was like super luxury smelling. So at Nordstrom when we were there this past weekend, I got a candle to put in the office to smell that and to bring in like have my mind like focused on the energy of like this luxury experience that I'm calling in for my business to be able to have like space to not be stressed out about like this person editing my doc every 5 seconds who was only paying me $500 or whatever it is. Like, not to knock these people, they're great, but like bigger, more spacious clients, how can I embody those clients instead of these stressed out small guys and be able to hold the energy of that? It's kind of, I have to create the energy of that around me. I have to embody it. And part of that was like, okay, whenever I smell that smell, I think of that amazing hotel that I would love to write a website for. So all those things, they just add up to everything else. And I'm excited to release. I'm pretty good at that though. Now I've gotten better at the releasing. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. And now I'm surprised that it happened, but I'm also not surprised.
Also that hotel is going to pay for you to go there on vacation with your family and everything also. But when we actually were getting our ducks in a row, like getting financed for this one house that was, met the criteria, and it was a little bit above budget, but we thought maybe we could get them down, and I was getting all finance and everything, and then it went pending. And you say that Roz is doing this through osmosis. Billy was actually like, my husband was like, it's okay, babe. Like, just this one, the universe is saying this one isn't meant for us. And now we know that there's houses out there that check our boxes. And so when the next one comes up, we'll be ready. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, this is like, they pick up what we say. They listen when we talk, even though they don't always acknowledge it. But it's like, we create the ripple effect too, which is a huge component of this spiritual work, right? Us believing it, us talking about it, we're subtly shifting other people's mindsets too, which I think is so beautiful. Like, talk about your luxury hotel client, Whitney, talk about it wherever you go. And then other people you're making me dream bigger already. Like, oh, okay, so I have this maximum paying client right now. Like, when you were saying that, all I was thinking, like, what's my next biggest paying client going to be? Like, just inviting it to open up more. And I used to think that I would never be like private plane rich, but then you started throwing around like PJ in your terminology, and I was like, well, why not? Like, why not? Why would we cap ourselves to that? So I just think that us talking about these things in like as a normal conversation, not like let's talk about manifesting, but just like it's everyday life, is so important for other people to hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's so much more than just us achieving our goals and our fulfillment and our mental peace. It really does have that ripple effect. And that's what I've seen in my community. And it's so beautiful. It's just all of us, the more that we expand each other and we rise up to meet what we desire, it invites other women to rise up and meet us. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, the Kardashians, I really believe for them that they are in the energy of each other's abundance, and that's what makes them believe and be expansive. And they all are able to create that ripple effect and all be rich, not because they have generational wealth, like that's part of it, of course, that they share amongst each other, but they've all created their own businesses because they've been able to see what's possible. Even this morning, we're having these conversations about money and women versus men, and like the conversations that are just so easy and non-emotional for men about money. And they're like, yeah, my ex-boyfriend was making like $75,000 a month. And I'm like, holy shit, I've never even considered that. And that's just a normal month for him. And he's very casually talking about it. Like, my husband talks about money pretty casually too. And I'm just like, the fact that they can embody that and just expect it, getting there, and that applies to everything, money or whatever you're looking for, the type of life that you want to live, having that be less tied to the how and the force and the masculine energy and the steps is pretty interesting, because a lot of these men, whether they are saying it or not, they're manifesting it. They're like, I know so many people I went to college with where they just expected out of college like a big salary that I didn't, and they got it and they just released it because that's their expectation. Like, I know that this is possible for me. I expect 6 figures graduating in 2008 in accounting or whatever it was, and they got it. And a lot of that has to do with the embodying, the surrendering, and the releasing. So it's important work, especially for women, to be in that mindset, because so many men are doing it and not even recognizing it is that.
Yeah, we're all doing it. It's just different semantics.
Right. And even with God and like universe, the terms that you use too.
We're all essentially talking about the same thing. So it's just finding what works for you and, you know, taking what resonates and applying it to your own life. And, you know, that's something that's really important to me too, is like, I will share all the practices and the tools with you, but at the end of the day, if it's not, you know, unlocking something within you, if you're doing gratitude journaling or you're embodying or doing these things and it's not doing anything for you, you know, what's the point? So it's all about really finding and exploring and finding, you know, you're meant to find your own path and your own way of doing things. That's what we're stepping into, and that's why we're creating our own business at the end of the day.
Yeah. And really quickly to your point about the tools for you, I've found that to be true with like working through traumas and the things like blocks, even with like traditional therapy. Talk therapy is great, but I've found too through like spiritual work, I realized I was holding so much in my body. So even doing more work with tools that I didn't think about before because I didn't know about them really, or think that they were viable options for me, the more that I explored different tools in those ways, the more I became healed or closer to my highest self, because I was able to consider new ways of healing. And that's a part of this whole process as well.
We're going to jump right into rapid fires, Jenni. So these are just going to be quick questions. Say what's on your mind. It doesn't have to be super quick if you don't want it to be, but whatever. Okay, first question. What are you proudest of in your business right now?
Never giving up. Never giving up through all the changes. I was just reflecting on this, as I mentioned earlier, you know, how many things have not gone as planned or things that I could consider as failures. And even though I have those moments of self-doubt like everyone, it's like, nope, reroute, keep it going. So resilience.
That's a great one. Tell us about a book that you read or a podcast you listened to recently that's changed the way you're thinking about your life or your business.
Oh my gosh. I read this book called The Celestine Prophecy, and it's completely changed my life. It is essentially all about following your intuition and the synchronicities that happen when you do, and the people that you meet on your path, and how you are always guided on your path. It's completely changed the way that I view the world and the way that I view the people that I meet, whether that's in business or personal life. And I highly recommend it. It's incredible.
That is a really good book. Have you read it, Whitney?
After Jenni talked about it and then I didn't win her giveaway, I bought it. So it's in my stack.
Mexican food forever. Just like a full feast.
Oh, yeah. Like, what do you order?
Oh, gosh. Well, definitely guac, chips and guac. We got to do that. And then I love like carnitas, tacos, the beans and rice, like a big tostada, all the things.
What is the best business purchase that you've made in the last 6 months that's under $100? People sometimes cheat on this. It doesn't really matter.
Ooh, probably this microphone. It is a Rode microphone, and I use it to create my meditations. It was $99, and it's travel friendly, which is essential for me. But I love it. It's improved the quality of what I create, and my my voice, and that's so important to me. And I swear after I bought it, I started getting way more podcast requests. So embody it and it will happen.
That's awesome. And our last question for you today is, what is lighting you up lately?
Honestly, just being in the present moment. I think, when it comes to manifestation, which is what I teach on, it can be looked at as always future seeking and wanting to achieve a goal and not be where you are. And truly, I find like the most peace and gratitude and appreciation for my business and my life when I'm just like in the tiny moments of sitting with a cup of tea or, having my feet on the ground and being in nature. And that's like what I'm coming back to right now.
I love that because it's something that it sounds really simple, but for those of us who have been in the grind for so many years, it's actually like a huge thing for us to like, I have to work. That's why all of this is a practice. Like I have to work really hard to be present and find that space and embody that person who I want to be, like that retired person with her feet on the ground. Doing that now is not something that has been safe or comfortable for us before. So that's a huge thing to hear. And that's why I like to note and reinforce that this is actually like, it's so small, but it's also huge.
Okay, Jenni, can you tell us how to find you online, any specific offerings that you want to share, and give us all the things, all the links, all of your information?
Yeah, so you can reach me pretty much on every platform, Instagram, TikTok, at Jenni.Adishian. I'm also on YouTube. If you want to try out meditation, I go live every week. And yeah, I have several offerings right now, whether that's self-guided programs if you're just getting started, or if you're ready to jump into community and be supported on your manifestation journey, then Abundant Collective is for you. But come say hi if you're listening. I love to connect with new people and I'd love to hear what you're manifesting in your business. So definitely reach out if this episode, this chat resonated with you.
Awesome. And we'll link everything in the show notes too for our listeners. Jenni, thank you so much for being here with us today. It was so great learning more about your business. And, we got some really helpful tips on manifestation. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So grateful.
Jenni is a hugely expansive person in my life, and I'm so excited to introduce our small community to you. So thank you again, Jenni, for your time and for bearing with us as we became too magical at certain moments to create lags in the recording. And we can't wait to share this episode with everyone. So thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye. See ya. Thank you.
This episode edited by Kate Gentry Shue.
And music provided by Sloan Best.